The text came in at 7:43 a.m. on a Wednesday, while I was reviewing quarterly reports at my desk. Dad, need to talk. Call me. 10 minutes later, when I hadn't responded fast enough, another one arrived. Dad, Maya, this is important. Your sister needs $8,500 for her down payment by Friday. Family helps family. I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hand, and felt something inside me that had been bending for years finally snap into a straight line. I'm Maya Chen, 29 years old, and I'm a senior auditor at a mid-sized accounting firm in Portland. I'm the person who notices when numbers don't add up, when patterns emerge from chaos, when someone's story stops matching their spreadsheet. At work, I'm valued for my attention to detail. At home, with my family, I've been valued for something else entirely, my willingness to say yes when everyone else says, maybe later. Has your family ever made you feel like an ATM machine with a heartbeat? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. My phone buzzed again. Dad, did you see my message? Sienna's realtor says they need the deposit by end of week or she loses the condo. You know how hard she's worked for this. I knew exactly how hard Sienna had worked. My younger sister, 26, beautiful and charming, with a marketing job that paid well enough but somehow never quite covered her lifestyle. The designer handbags, the weekend trips to wine country, the monthly nail appointments that cost more than my grocery budget. I typed back, Dad, I need to think about this. The response was immediate. Dad, there's nothing to think about. She's your sister. This is what family does. Mom, Maya, your father told me. Please don't make this difficult. Sienna's been so stressed. I put the phone face down and returned to my spreadsheet, but the numbers swam in front of my eyes. $8,500. It wasn't the first time they'd asked. It wasn't even the 10th. It started 3 years ago when Sienna's car broke down and she needed $1,200 for repairs. Just this once, Dad had said. Then came her credit card debt, $3,000 to get her back on track. Then the emergency root canal that her insurance somehow didn't cover, $1,800. The laptop for her career development, $2,400. The security deposit when she moved apartments because her roommate was toxic, $2,500. Every time, it was urgent. Every time, it was family. Every time, I said yes because saying no meant being selfish, dramatic, cold. And every time, the money disappeared into Sienna's life like water into sand, with no acknowledgement, no repayment plan, no thank you that lasted longer than a text message. What they didn't know was that I'd been keeping track. Every dollar, every excuse, every promise of, I'll pay you back next month, that evaporated like morning fog. That evening, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail, but I listened. Maya, it's your father. Look, I don't understand why you're being difficult about this. Your sister has an opportunity here. A real investment in her future. We've always supported you kids equally, and now it's time for you to step up for her. Call me back tonight. Supported equally. The words sat in my chest like stones. I opened my laptop and pulled up the file I'd been maintaining for the past year. A simple spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and descriptions. I'd started it on a whim after the 5th or 6th request, thinking maybe if I tracked it, I could see the pattern clearly. What I saw was worse than I'd imagined. Total amount given to Sienna over 3 years, $23,600. Total amount given to me, $0. Not for emergencies, not for opportunities, not for investments in my future. Because I was the responsible one. I didn't need help. I had my act together. I scrolled through my bank statements and found something else I'd been documenting, the family expenses I'd quietly absorbed. Dad's prescription medications when he was between insurance plans, $890. Mom's car insurance when she forgot to renew and faced a lapse penalty, $650. The family cell phone plan that somehow I'd been paying for 2 years, $3,360. The subscription services they used, Netflix, Spotify, Hulu, that were all linked to my credit card, $1,470. Grand total, $30,000. $30,000. The down payment on my own future, the emergency fund I should have built, the vacation I never took, the financial security I'd been chasing while funding everyone else's comfort. I created a new document. At the top, I wrote, what they're about to learn. My phone rang. Sienna this time. I answered. Maya. Oh my God, thank you so much. Dad told me you're helping with the down payment. You're literally saving my life right now. The condo is perfect, it has this amazing balcony and the kitchen has marble countertops and... Sienna, I interrupted. I haven't agreed to anything. Silence. Then, in a smaller voice, what do you mean? Dad said it was handled. Dad assumed. I said I needed to think about it. Think about it? Her voice shifted, taking on an edge. Maya, this isn't something to think about. I need this by Friday. The seller has other offers. Then maybe you should ask one of those other offers for money. That's not funny. You're my sister. This is what sisters do. Is it? I asked. What have you done for me, Sienna? Another pause. Longer this time. I can't believe you're making this about keeping score. That's so petty. You're right, I said calmly. It would be petty if I were keeping score. But I'm not. I'm looking at a spreadsheet. And the numbers tell a very different story than the one you're all telling yourselves. What are you talking about? I'll explain Friday. Have a good night. I hung up before she could respond. Within minutes, the family group chat lit up. Mom, Maya, Sienna just called crying. What did you say to her? Dad, this is unacceptable. Call your sister and apologize. Aunt Linda, what's going on? Sienna seems upset. Sienna, never mind everyone. Apparently Maya has more important things than family. I muted the chat and opened a glass of wine. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From something else. Something that felt like power returning to a part of me that had been numb for years. Thursday morning, I took a personal day from work. I had planning to do. First, I called my bank and separated my accounts. The family cell phone plan transferred to its own account with Dad as the primary holder. I sent him the login information and a simple text. You'll need to update payment information by the end of the billing cycle. The subscription services? Cancelled. All of them. Let them figure out why their evening Netflix routine suddenly required a credit card. Then I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I called my landlord and asked about the available one-bedroom unit on the top floor, the one with the view of Mount Hood, the one I'd been coveting but told myself I couldn't afford. It's still available, she said. Are you interested? Very, I replied. I'd like to put down a deposit this week. After I hung up, I sat very still in my living room and felt the weight of the decision settle over me like a blanket. Not a heavy blanket. A warm one. My phone buzzed. Dad again. Dad, the cell phone bill is asking for payment information. Is there a problem with your card? I smiled. Me, no problem with my card. But there is a problem with me paying for 5 phone lines when I only use one. You'll need to set up your own payment method. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Dad, we'll talk about this later. Right now, we need to focus on Sienna's down payment. Have you transferred the money? Me, no. Dad, Maya Elizabeth Chen. I am your father and I'm telling you to do this. Something about seeing my full name like a weapon made me laugh out loud. I typed, check your bank account on Saturday. Then I turned off my phone completely. Friday came and went. I spent it at a coffee shop with my laptop, finalizing my budget for the new apartment, researching furniture I actually liked instead of the hand-me-downs I'd accepted because it's free and you should be grateful. I had dinner with my coworker Amanda, who'd been watching this family drama unfold for months. She raised her glass, to boundaries. To boundaries, I echoed, and meant it. Saturday morning, I woke up early and made myself breakfast, real breakfast, with scrambled eggs and toast and fresh fruit, not the grabbed granola bar I usually survived on. I turned my phone back on and watched it come alive with notifications. 17 missed calls. 43 text messages. 6 voicemails. I didn't open any of them yet. Instead, I got dressed, put on my favorite deep V-neck sweater and jeans, made a second cup of coffee, and sat down at my kitchen table with my laptop. Then I opened my banking app and executed the plan I'd been building for 3 months. Every account my family had that I'd been quietly funding, closed, transferred, or payment authorization revoked. Every subscription, canceled. Every autopay, ended. But I did something else too. Something they wouldn't discover until later. I opened the joint savings account Dad had set up for family emergencies when I was 22, the one I'd been the only person contributing to for 7 years. The balance, $12,400. I transferred it. All of it. Into a new account. In my name only. Then I sent a single text to the family group chat, check your bank accounts. I unmuted the chat and watched the chaos unfold in real time. Mom, Maya, the Netflix isn't working. Dad, what did you do? Sienna, the deposit bounced. Maya, what did you do? Aunt Linda, what's happening? Dad, MOA. Call me now. I finished my coffee. I didn't call. Instead, I typed, I'll be at Mom and Dad's house at 2 p.m. We'll talk then. Everyone who wants answers should be there. Sienna, you can't just do this and then demand a family meeting like you're in charge. Me, I'm not in charge. I'm just not in debt anymore. See you at 2. At 1:45 p.m., I pulled up to my childhood home in Northeast Portland. The house looked the same as always. The garden Mom was always too busy to maintain. The driveway Dad never quite got around to sealing. Sienna's car was already there, parked at an aggressive angle like her mood had a physical form. I grabbed the folder from my passenger seat, printed spreadsheets, bank statements, a timeline I'd constructed with color-coded highlights. I'd done this 100 times at work, presented findings, walked clients through financial realities they didn't want to face. This was just another audit. Except the clients were my parents, and the findings were about me. I walked in without knocking. They were all in the living room, Mom on the couch, Dad standing by the fireplace, Sienna pacing near the window, and to my surprise, Aunt Linda perched on the armchair, looking deeply uncomfortable. Finally, Sienna snapped. Do you know what you've done? The seller accepted another offer because my deposit bounced. I lost the condo, Maya. I lost it. Sit down, I said quietly. Excuse me? Sit down. I placed the folder on the coffee table. If you want to know what I did and why, you're going to sit down and listen. Dad's face was red. You don't get to come into our house and give orders. You're right, I agreed. I don't. But I also don't have to keep funding your house, your phones, or Sienna's lifestyle. So if you want to understand what just happened, you'll sit down. Mom's eyes were wet. Maya, honey, why are you being so cruel? That's an interesting word, I said. Let's talk about cruelty. I opened the folder and pulled out the first spreadsheet. This is a record of every dollar I've given Sienna over the past 3 years. The total is $23,600. Not loaned. Given. Because every time I helped, you all called it family, not a loan. Sienna's face went pale. You kept track? I'm an auditor, Sienna. I keep track of everything. I pulled out the second spreadsheet. This is a record of family expenses I've been covering. Phone plan, streaming services, insurance gaps, medications. Another $6,400. We didn't ask you to do that, Dad protested. You didn't ask me not to either. You just enjoyed the benefits and never questioned where they came from. I laid out the third document. This is the joint savings account statement. The one you set up for family emergencies. Over 7 years, you've deposited $600 total. I've deposited $12,400. It was supposed to be for all of us, but I've been the only one treating it like it mattered. The room was silent except for the sound of papers rustling. Yesterday, I took my money out of that account. All of it. I also revoked my payment authorizations on every family expense I've been covering. The cell phones, the subscriptions, all of it. You're adults. You can pay your own bills. You had no right, Dad said, but his voice had lost its certainty. I had every right. It was my money. Mom wiped her eyes. But Sienna needed. Sienna wanted, I corrected. There's a difference. She wanted a condo with marble countertops and a balcony. She didn't need it. And she definitely didn't need me to fund it while she spends her salary on handbags and wine weekends. Sienna's voice was small. I didn't know you felt this way. You didn't ask. None of you asked. You just assumed I'd keep saying yes because that's what I've always done. Aunt Linda, who'd been silent this whole time, cleared her throat. Maya, I think what you're trying to say. No, I interrupted gently. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm saying it. I've been treated like a bank instead of a daughter, an ATM instead of a sister. And I'm done. I pulled out one more document, a simple letter I'd written the night before. This is what I'm doing now. I've put a deposit on a new apartment. A nice one, with a view, that I'm paying for with the money I saved by cutting you all off. I'm building my own emergency fund, my own future, my own life. And I'm doing it without carrying the weight of everyone else's choices. Dad sat down heavily. We never meant to make you feel used. But you did. And when I tried to set a boundary, when I said I needed to think about giving Sienna $8,500, you called me selfish, difficult, cruel. You made me the villain for wanting to protect myself. Mom's face crumpled. We just thought, you were doing so well. You didn't seem to need anything. That's the problem, Mom. I needed you to see me as more than a safety net. I needed you to ask if I was okay instead of assuming my silence meant I was fine. Sienna was crying now, quiet tears that streaked her mascara. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't realize. You didn't want to realize. It was easier to take. The silence that followed felt like a living thing, heavy and uncomfortable and necessary. Finally, Aunt Linda stood. I think Maya's been more than clear. And honestly, I think she's been more than fair. A lot of people would have walked away without explaining anything. I thought about it, I admitted. But I wanted you to understand. Not for your sake, for mine. I needed to say this out loud. I gathered my papers and put them back in the folder. I'm not cutting you out of my life. But I am cutting out the part where I sacrifice my own security for your comfort. If you want to rebuild a relationship with me, it starts with respecting that boundary. I left the folder on the table and walked toward the door. Maya, Dad called. I turned. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes tired. How do we fix this? You start by paying your own phone bill, I said. And then you figure out how to support Sienna without expecting me to do it for you. She's your daughter. I'm your daughter too. I walked out into the late afternoon sun, got in my car, and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, breathing deeply. My phone buzzed. A text from Sienna, I really am sorry. I didn't reply yet. Maybe I would later. Maybe I wouldn't. Either way, it was my choice now. The following week was quieter than I expected. No emergency calls, no guilt trip texts, no accusations of abandonment. Just silence. At first, I kept checking my phone, bracing for the next wave. But it didn't come. On Wednesday, Mom sent a single text. We set up our own phone plan. The bill was higher than I thought. I replied, now you know. Thursday, I signed the lease on my new apartment. The one with the view of Mount Hood, the one with the balcony where I could drink my coffee and watch the sunrise without feeling like I owed anyone anything. Move-in date, 3 weeks. Saturday, I met Amanda for brunch at a place with overpriced avocado toast that I ordered without guilt. You did it, she said, raising her mimosa. You actually did it. I did, I agreed. And for the first time in years, I felt light. That night, Dad called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Maya. His voice was rough. I've been thinking about what you said. About how we treated you like a bank. And? You were right. Your mother and I talked about it. We've been relying on you because it was easy. Because you never complained. We took advantage of that, and I'm sorry. I sat down on my couch, phone pressed to my ear. Thank you for saying that. Sienna's been looking at apartments in her actual budget. She's upset about the condo, but she understands. Or she's starting to. That's her process to work through, I said. Not mine. I know. He paused. Will you come to dinner next Sunday? Just dinner. No agenda, no requests. Just family. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I'll think about it, Dad. And I'll let you know. That's fair, he said quietly. That's more than fair. 2 months later, I'm sitting on my new balcony, watching the mountain turn pink in the evening light. My apartment is small but mine, every piece of furniture chosen intentionally, every corner arranged to make me feel at home instead of like I'm waiting for my real life to start. I did go to that dinner at my parents' house. It was awkward and careful, with long pauses and topics we avoided. But it was also honest in a way we'd never been before. Sienna apologized again, and this time I could tell she meant it. She showed me photos of the one-bedroom apartment she'd rented, 20 minutes farther from downtown but within her budget. It's not marble countertops, she said with a half-smile. But it's mine. That matters more, I told her. We're not fixed. Families don't work like that, like broken vases you can glue back together and pretend the cracks don't exist. But we're talking. And when Dad asked if I needed help moving furniture, I said yes, not because I couldn't afford movers, but because I wanted to see if he'd follow through. He did. He and Mom showed up with a truck and helped me carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs without once asking for anything in return. Mom cried when she saw my balcony view. You deserve this, she said. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. I've kept the spreadsheet. Not as a weapon, but as a reminder. A reminder that my silence was never consent, that my generosity was never obligation, that my love for my family doesn't require my financial ruin. I still get moments of doubt. Late at night, when the apartment is quiet, I wonder if I was too harsh, too cold, too calculating. Then I remember the text, send $8,500 by Friday, and the assumption that I'd simply comply. I remember the feeling of being invisible except when I was useful. And I know I did the right thing. There's a sticky note on my fridge that says, "No" is a complete sentence. It's silly and simple, but it reminds me that I don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting my peace. Last week, Sienna texted me a photo of her new apartment, decorated with furniture from a thrift store and plants she's trying not to kill. Learning to live within my means, she wrote. It's harder than I thought, but also kind of empowering. I smiled and wrote back, proud of you. And I meant it. I don't know what next holiday season will look like. Maybe we'll gather around Mom and Dad's table, or maybe I'll start my own traditions in my own space. What I do know is that I won't be buying my way into belonging. I won't be the silent safety net, the backup plan, the bank of Maya. For once, their expectations don't define me. My boundaries do. Subscribe for more stories of standing up, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself. Because someone out there needs to hear that saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you whole. Where are you watching from? Have you ever had to cut off financial support to family? Drop your story in the comments. This is a space where we don't apologize for saving ourselves. And if you've been the family ATM, the emergency fund, the one who always says yes, this is your permission slip to stop. Check your own bank account. Build your own future. Choose your own peace. Because the only person who truly needs your financial support is the one staring back at you in the mirror. And she's been waiting long enough.